Hello my friend, and welcome back to Seed and Sparrow Homestead. My name's Kelsey and we are on week 7 of the 3 Rivers Pantry Challenge. Yesterday was Saturday of week 6. And all I really did, although I shouldn't say all I did because we did a whole lot yesterday. We were out in the garden cleaning lots of stuff up. If I sound slightly congested, it's just my allergies acting up. I was stirring up a whole lot of, like decomposing things and, Anyways, yesterday all I did in the kitchen was make some cookies for children's church today. I wanted to gear them to Valentine's, at least a little bit, and I wanted something a little bit healthier. I mean, a cookie's a cookie, and sometimes you just tap the cookie. But I wanted to try a refined sugar-free sugar cookie. Found a recipe online that had great reviews, and I'm glad I gave it a try because it's probably one of the best sugar cookies we've ever had. Everyone raved over them. Matt ate a ton of them, and instead of a refined sugar, I used maple syrup and coconut sugar. Super good, gooey and chewy, excellent flavor. I will 100% make them again. And then on the top, I did drizzle some white chocolate that I had mixed in some beet powder to give it a bit of a pink hue, and I threw some nonpareils on there too. So there was that, but really, really yummy. That's all I did in the kitchen yesterday. So now we're home from church. It's Sunday, and I want to start prepping for the week. So on today's agenda, I want to do something for breakfast and then make my husband his lunch for the week. So for breakfast, I think I'm going to do some biscuits and sausage gravy, and then we're just going to make some cheesy scrambled eggs on the side. I haven't quite decided what we're doing for lunch yet, so let's at least get started on breakfast, and as we do that, hopefully I'll figure something out. Alrighty then, let's get to work on these biscuits. I've got a cup of cold butter here cut up. I've got 5 cups of flour, all-purpose white flour here. I'm going to do a double batch. One batch I think makes like 8 to 10 biscuits. I'm not sure if that'll be quite enough for Matt for the entire week. So I'm going to make a double batch, and then whatever is extra I can just keep in the freezer. Nice to have those things on hand. So now we're going to get 2 tablespoons of baking powder in here and some salt and sugar. I'm going to do a teaspoon and a half of salt. And then we're going to do 4 teaspoons of sugar. I gotta run downstairs and get some more sugar. And I also desperately need to fill all of my half-gallon mason jars. They've been sitting empty for the longest time, and I need to make it a point to fill them back up. Alright, for those, mix this together. I'm going to add in my butter then. And I am just going to work that with my fingers until the butter is broken up pretty well in throughout this. But you want your chunks of butter to stay fairly big for those nice flaky layers. I also have my oven preheating to 425 degrees. Alright, let's get our cup of cubed butter in here. If you hear thudding, my children are making a ruckus upstairs in their bedroom. I'm just gonna break this apart a bit. So we got like little chunks of butter the size of about like a pea. Alright, time for some milk. About 2 cups is gonna go in here. So eyeball it. 1, 2-ish. We'll see how that turns out. Just gonna get these well combined. You could totally use buttermilk if you have that on hand. I'm just using milk because I have it and it's easy. Can make up, a buttermilk substitute, but we're just gonna go with milk today. We've got a whole bunch in the fridge. I actually purchased some extra this week in my budget for freeze drying. So I've got the freeze dryer warming up. We're gonna go load that up with some milk here soon too. Alright, dough's about a 1/2 inch thick. And get all these biscuits cut out and put on my parchment lined cookie sheet here. I'm gonna brush on a little bit of milk, and then they'll go in at 425 degrees. I'm gonna check them in about 12 minutes. It'll probably take more like 15, but I just wanna make sure. We are gonna start on the sausage gravy now, except it's not totally a true sausage gravy. I'm using half plain pork sausage and half ground beef, a pound of each. I'm gonna get these guys browned up. While I'm waiting for that meat to start browning, I went shopping in the pantry. I pulled a few things. I think I'm just gonna make a venison chili-ish thing. I just pulled some random stuff. I have a quart of my home canned tomato sauce. This is my yellow tomato sauce from my Dr. Witchy's tomatoes, but that's going on 2 years. I need to use that. Grab some black beans and some kidney beans. And then I have 2 salsas here I'm going to throw into it. One is this choice salsa. I think this is the National Center for Home Food Preservation's choice salsa. You can kind of pick and choose what ingredients for the most part you want in it, and I don't love how this one turned out. I've got 3 cans of it downstairs that I need to get used, so I'm gonna use it in this chili, and you know, it's not good on its own. That's all I'm trying to say. And then I also have some tomato corn salsa. It's the cherry tomato, I believe. Cherry tomato and corn salsa. That's gonna go in, and then I pulled 2 packs of my ground venison. Got a lot of that we need to work through because that's going on, like, it's over a year old now. We had a lot of it. I think my husband got a deer, and then we got like another 30 to 40 pounds from somebody, so we need to work on through that. So we're gonna do some venison chili as soon as that meat starts thawing. Okay, I drained off most of the fat here. I'm gonna add 2 tablespoons of butter. I want that flavor in there. And then we're gonna do about 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. Mix this up. And we're gonna add in some milk and some heavy cream. Okay, we're gonna add, this is 3 cups of milk, raw milk, and I did 1.5 cups of heavy cream. Just gonna get this all mixed in here. We'll add some seasoning, and then we'll just allow it to sit, flavors mingle, and have it thicken up for us. Okay, let's do 1/4 teaspoon thyme. 1/4 teaspoon of rosemary, just a dash of onion powder, sprinkle of red pepper flakes, sprinkle of salt, and grab some black pepper. of a 1/4 teaspoon. Okay, let that thicken up and it'll be ready to go. All right, this looks good. I'm gonna get this out of this pan, get the pan rinsed out, and we'll make some scrambled eggs for breakfast too. Okay, for the chili, I've got my 2 pounds of ground venison all browned up. I'm gonna add a can of kidney beans, a can of black beans. Those are just 2 I had on hand. I'm gonna throw in my can of choice salsa. We're also gonna do the cherry tomato corn salsa. Give that a stir. And goes tomato sauce. I'm also gonna add a cup, maybe a cup and a half of beef broth. Okay, let's get some seasonings. First, I'm gonna do like 2 tablespoons of brown sugar. We like our chili just a little bit sweet. When I make my chili, I make it by taste, so I'm just gonna start adding and I'll try and guesstimate how much I put in. I'm gonna start with a tablespoon and a half of cumin, tablespoon of chili powder, teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons of paprika, teaspoon of onion powder. I'm gonna do some salt and pepper. All right, stir this up and then we're gonna give it a taste. We're gonna do a dash of Worcestershire. The rest of the chili powder is only about a teaspoon left in there. Maybe a bit more onion powder. And another teaspoon of cumin. And I think that should be good. Okay, the last thing I gotta do is cook up these eggs. Got some cheese shredded up. It's gonna go in here. Some cheesy scrambled. See, some salt and pepper, and my work will be done for the day.
We are on to Monday, and today is a bit different for me. Usually we only do school 4 days a week and we have Mondays off, but we were expecting a snowstorm, so my mom headed over to our house and we did some schoolwork on Monday. My mom helps me out with homeschooling my daughter, so I wanted to make some dinner for us, and I figured I'd make some dinner for my mom as well so she could take some home for her crew. To get the day started, I am making a double batch of Jill Winger's hamburger bun recipe. In a few videos back, I had shared Ruth Ann Zimmerman's hamburger bun recipe. I like to use hers, but I also like to use Jill's on occasion. I really like the flavor of Jill's, so I will link the recipe down in the description. It's very simple. I activated a tablespoon of active dry yeast in 1 cup of warm milk, added a 1/4 cup of cane sugar, 2 tablespoons of butter, 1 egg, a teaspoon of sea salt, and 3.5 cups of all-purpose flour. And I kneaded this for about 8 to 10 minutes, and then we sit it covered for about 1 hour or until doubled. So on the menu is cheeseburgers and some stovetop mac and cheese. So I'm going to get my noodles boiling here in some salted water. And then we move back to the dough, which has risen. We get to punch it down. It's one of my favorite parts. And I am going to split this into, now I made a double batch. Usually it makes 8 to 10 rolls per batch. I think I got 20 rolls out of this dough here. So with each little portion, I like to kind of gather all of the ends and tuck them underneath, and then I flatten it. With these rolls, they rise a whole lot, but they rise up. They don't rise out. So you want to make sure you are flattening them to the width you want for your hamburgers. These get covered again with a towel, and I will let them rise for another 30 minutes. Let's get started on a roux for our stovetop mac and cheese. I melted 3 tablespoons of butter in my Dutch oven, and I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of all-purpose flour to that. A roux is just equal parts butter and flour. You stir that up and allow it to cook for about a minute or so. And then you come back and you start to slowly add in some milk, little by little, so we don't end up with lots of chunks all throughout it. We want a nice, smooth sauce. So this is the base of our cheese sauce. Once this is all combined and smooth, I'm going to start adding in cheese. I probably added in 4 cups of various cheeses that I found in my fridge. I just freshly grated a whole bunch of cheese. I think I used Monterey Jack, some Munster. What else did I have? I think a little bit of Parmesan and some cheddar as well. Added some seasoning then on top of this, some salt and pepper and some paprika and a squirt of mustard, probably a tablespoon or so. And that is our cheese sauce for our mac and cheese. After the buns had risen, I brushed them with an egg wash, and they went into a 375 degree oven to bake for about 14 to 16 minutes until nice and golden brown. Let's make our hamburger patties. So I have 3 pounds of meat in here because I am cooking for 8 people. I originally just wanted to do all venison burgers, but I have some picky eaters. I like venison burgers. They tend to be a bit leaner, but you can kind of counteract that by adding some grated butter in there. It gives you some of that fat needed for a nice juicy burger. So I just did half ground beef, half venison, and they turned out great. I threw in 1 egg, some salt and pepper, and a little bit of Worcestershire sauce. And nobody knew that there was any venison in these burgers. So here's Monday's dinner, a little heavy on the carbs, but still delicious nonetheless. Well, my friend, this week is not going as planned at all. So it is now Wednesday.
I did not film anything at all yesterday because we got a super out of the blue snowstorm, and we ended up getting like 10 inches of really heavy snow overnight, really fast, and it just weighed down the trees and all of the power lines. And I think like 90,000 people around our area were without power. Now that I think there's like 36,000 left or so, and we're one of those 36,000. So we're on day 2, no power. Not a huge deal, but it has thrown a wrench in things here. So yesterday we just kind of did sandwiches and fruits. We were in and out of the fridge sporadically. We do have a generator, which I'm very thankful for, but we're not running it continuously. We're trying to conserve fuel, so we're only turning it on for like an hour or 2 at a time, a few times throughout the day, just to make sure we're recharging the fridge and the freezers. The freezers are staying pretty cold as long as we're not opening them, same with the fridge, but we want to make sure that they stay that way. At least it is like really cold and snowy outside, so if we'd have to, we could throw the contents outside. But we're doing that, and it's powering our hot water heater, so we have some hot water. We can still take showers and stuff. We still have running water, and thankfully we have a coal stove, so at least our home is warm. We're very thankful for all of that. But we have a fairly large generator. However, it doesn't seem to be powerful enough to provide power to the fridge, the freezers, the hot water heater, a few lights, and the stove. I'm not gonna try messing with it and like unplugging a whole bunch of other stuff and seeing if I can just get the stove to work to prepare some food. So we're gonna try something tonight. Last night, Matt's parents had us up for dinner. They're not that far away from us, and they still had power, so that was a blessing. We had a nice warm meal last night. I'm gonna try and cook on our coal stove tonight, see how that works. If it doesn't work, Matt left the generator running after he came home from work for lunch, and I'm gonna try, if I have to unplug a few things, I do have like a single electric burner that I could at least do like a 1-pot type meal, but we won't be doing any more baking, and unfortunately this video is probably gonna be cut pretty short, and we're just gonna do one more thing together, but that's just real life, and it is what it is. This little snowstorm though taught me I may not be as prepared as I thought I was. Yeah, I've got a really well-stocked pantry, put in the hard work there, and we could survive off of this food, I think, for a good long while. However, I don't have great ways to prepare said food, like heat it up or, you know, bake something. So that's just really got me thinking I need to figure out something like that, just in case there would be a prolonged period of no power, and it is like not ideal weather outside to be like making a fire and cooking, or, you know, baking at a Dutch oven over a fire. Like, I can figure that out, but it's not always possible. We have a grill, we have like a big propane burner that we usually use when we're doing our chicken butchering days, like the scalding pot, but it's massive, and I'd have to use that outside somewhere anyways. I'm not putting that in my home. So it just got me thinking, like, how would I really, you know, make do with no power and trying to prepare food, warm food up. So we're gonna try and figure out the coal stove. Once you see it, you'll see it's not ideal to cook on. There's like some decorative like grates all over it, like a metal casing, and we're not cooking like right on top of the stove itself. So I'm not sure about like the temp and stuff, how that's gonna work. So we'll figure that out, but it's just got my brain going, like, how can I be more prepared to make things work if it came to it. So that'll be a topic for another day, but makes you think. Okay, lighting is terrible. I have this one little window here, but I think you guys can at least make out what I'm doing. Here's our coal stove. You can see like there's this metal grate on the top of it. Like the actual stove itself, itself is like down here. So I mean the heat is rising to the top, and this is pretty toasty. Like I'm not gonna stick my hand on there. But we're gonna see if we can get this to boil. So my plan for dinner is some of my canned goods and some rice. So I've got a whole can of full-fat coconut milk in here. I'm gonna try and get this to boil, and then we're gonna throw in some jasmine rice and some salt and allow that to cook up. And then the other thing I have planned is some like Mongolian type beef with some of my canned beef and some like coconut aminos and ginger and stuff like garlic. And I also have some canned green beans I'm gonna throw in there. If I had broccoli, I'd throw some broccoli in there. But we're gonna try and like saute that all up together in a cast iron skillet on the stove. We're gonna see how this works. Hoping it does. Otherwise, I'm just gonna have to rely on the generator, and we'll have to cook it up on the hot plate upstairs. Little update. The pot is pretty hot. This is just warm in there, like I can still stick my finger in it. But we're making progress, so I'm hopeful that it will get to the point of where it boils. We're making progress. This is hot. Not boiling, but it is quite hot, so we're gonna keep going with it. I'm not gonna give up on it. And I brought down a cast iron skillet, and I've got some oil in here, some freshly grated ginger, some minced garlic, and a little bit of red pepper flakes, and we're just gonna get this heated up. We'll keep making our dinner over the coal stove. This is pretty hot, not boiling yet, but I'm gonna stick my cup of rice in there and give that a stir. And I'm gonna put the lid on it. We're just gonna let that go. There's that one. This cast iron, yeah, like I can hardly touch that. It's definitely getting warm. Definitely smell. Got some fragrance going here. I'm gonna throw in some arrowroot powder and some honey and coconut aminos and allow that to thicken up, and then I'll open up a can of my canned beef and put that in here. Alright, we're gonna dump in this can of canned beef. Mix this up, and I'll just let it sit here for a little while until everything is heated through. This part is a bit, simpler than getting this over here to boil this rice. I mean, something's happening there. It's just gonna take a good long while. Alright, this is piping hot now, so I'm gonna throw in my green beans, and I've got some sesame seeds. Give that a stir, and then I'm gonna take this off of the stove because I don't want it to burn on here. I'll just stick that upstairs for a little while. It's about 4 o'clock, so I'm doing this a bit early. Matt won't be home for another hour, but I wanted to make sure something was actually done for dinner. But rice is still cooking. Update, we have food. So I've got the lighting is terrible today, so this is about as good as you're gonna get. There's my Mongolian beef, ready to go. And then, this is still piping hot, I just took it off. We do have some cooked rice, some coconut jasmine rice, so that'll be dinner tonight. Thankful for that, so at least I know now I can cook with our coal stove. It'd be interesting at some point to try and bake something, maybe in my cast iron Dutch oven, and then like invert the lid so it's concave, and then throw some like hot coals on there and see if I can kind of make an oven. So maybe we'll do that in the future, some not so conventional ways of cooking. But great to know I can do this. We've got a warm meal tonight. Still have about half an hour before Matt gets home, so this will probably cool down. I'll just stick it back on the stove downstairs for it to heat up. But I think that's all I'm gonna have for you guys, because tomorrow's Thursday, and because we don't have power, we don't have internet, I'm gonna head to my mom's house. She's about an hour away from me, and I'm gonna work on editing this video for you guys and getting it uploaded at her place. And hopefully we'll have power and everything restored so we can get back to business as usual. I hope you guys still enjoyed coming along with me, even though it wasn't quite what I planned for week 7. Not quite so many recipes to share with you guys, but hopefully things will be back to normal for week 8 and we'll get back to business. And then after that we'll do a wrap up of the challenge, my thoughts, things I have learned, maybe some things I'll do differently. And we'll move on to some other things. So thank you guys for hanging out with me. Have a blessed week, and I'll see you next time.